You are now listening to Toni On One Radio, the talk show podcast station, bringing you Toni On One Podcast with open discussions, hot topics, as well as information, daily health, as well as your news report. All information and resources are based on the opinions of the host, unless otherwise noted. This podcast may contain some quotations, images, and/or excerpts from copyrighted material. These uses fall well within the copyright doctrine of fair use. All information is intended to motivate, encourage, and inspire positive change and a healthier lifestyle. Welcome to Toni On One Podcast. Good evening and welcome to another episode of the Toni On One Podcast. Our topic, the impact of sex, physical integrity, and health. Now, this is going to be a 3-part show series, and this one is part 1. So, if you are new here, welcome. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow, no matter where and how you're listening to this. For all of my day ones, let me go ahead and give a shout out to you all. What's up, everybody in the On Ones, Day Ones group? Thank y'all so much for being my biggest supporters. Much love and respect to you all. Now, this is a hot topic issue, y'all. It really is. And I've been sitting back and I've constantly got to ask the question, why you won't do it? Why you won't do this topic? Why you won't do this topic? I waited a while. This is a very hot button issue. I've heard other people do it. I've listened. I've watched the reactions and everything else that went with it. This topic is all over the world. People on their back porches, up under the tree, talking about it and everything. So I'm going to go ahead and do this 3-part series, the impact of sex, physical integrity, and health. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another thought-provoking episode of Toni On One Podcast. I am your host, Toni On One, and today we're kicking off an exciting 3-part series that dives into the deep and often misunderstood connection between body count and sexual behavior. So y'all better buckle up, because we're about to embark on an eye-opening journey into the world of intimate relationships, psychology, and human behavior. So, body count. Because those are the words that everybody's familiar with. Body count, body count, body count. Does it matter? Does it not matter? What happens if there's a high body count? What does it mean if it's a low body count? The topic is all over the place, like truly. So today we're going to get into it. Now, in today's modern society, our views on sexual behavior have evolved significantly. Because what it was way back in the day, where they didn't really talk about it, you knew they were having sex, but nobody talked about it. So a lot of the older, I should say the oldest, or the ones who have already passed on, that was their era. We won't discredit them. No, we won't do that. Because they're learning just like we're still learning in this day and age. But we knew sex was happening. Everybody everywhere. They popping that coochie or slanging that pipe. No matter what you call those parts, pieces, and or the action. It's sex. But have we truly grasped the potential consequences that can arise from our choices in the bedroom? Some maybe. Some maybe not. But that's why we're here. Now, throughout this series, we aim to provide you with a comprehensive understanding of body count. Now, body count is a term used to describe the number of sexual partners an individual has had and how it can impact our lives, both emotionally as well as physically. So in part 1, we break down the stereotypes surrounding body count and debunk common misconceptions. We'll also explore the roots of societal judgment and shame, unveiling how these negative attitudes can affect our self-esteem and relationships. We got this. We can talk about this. Civil. No blasting. Because it's not necessary. We're all adults here. Right? And if you guys have any of your points that you would like, comment, email, all of that. And if you're following me on social media, whether it's either one of my blogs or any pages on any platforms that I have, let me know your thoughts on this. I'll go back and include them. So for part 1, we are discussing body count and sexual behavior, understanding the connection. Sexual behavior is a deeply personal aspect of human life, influenced by various social, cultural, and individual factors. One such factor that has gained attention in the recent years is the concept of body count, the number of sexual partners an individual has had. Here, I aim to explore the relationship between body count and sexual behavior, as well as function, and the potential implications and perceptions surrounding it. By examining relevant research and existing literature, we can gain a deeper understanding of this complex topic. Not only that, just looking around at the people that we live with, work with, share DNA with, just look around. Online, news, it all tells you and it shows you. Now, body count and sexual behavior. Research has shown that there is significant diversity among individuals when it comes to sexual behavior, as well as attitude towards body count. Now, some individuals may have multiple sexual partners throughout their lives, while others may prefer long-term monogamous relationships. One's body count does not necessarily correlate with their sexual behavior, satisfaction, or even function. And I know that's going to sound crazy and surprising, but pretty much true. It is important to recognize that sexual behavior is subjective and varies greatly from person to person. So what are these factors? The factors affecting body count and sexual behavior definitely varies, but they can shape an individual's sexual behavior and subsequently influence their body count. Cultural and societal norms play a significant role in shaping attitudes towards sex and relationships. So, for instance, societies that value sexual liberation and autonomy may be more accepting of higher body counts, while more conservative socialites may view a lower body count as ideal. Individual personality traits and values also contribute to an individual's sexual behavior. Factors such as self-esteem, self-confidence, and personal beliefs about sex can impact an individual's choices and preferences. Now, additionally, factors like age, education, and socioeconomic status have been found to influence sexual behavior and body count. And y'all, it is important to consider these factors as they do contribute to the complexity of the relationship between body count and sexual behavior. So, what are the implications? Like, what's happening. The perception of body count varies across different individuals and cultures. Some may associate a higher body count with negative connotations, such as being promiscuous or a lack of commitment. On the other hand, others may view a higher body count as a sign of sexual experience and exploration. Either way, it is what it is, and it does affect people differently on how it's viewed. It is crucial to avoid judgment based solely on body count, as it fails to account for the diverse factors that shapes an individual's sexual behavior and preferences. Now, there's a lot of research out here on this, so this is not just my opinion. This is years of research. So research also suggests that there is no direct correlation between body count and sexual satisfaction or even function. What matters most is the quality of sexual experiences and the level of emotional and physical satisfaction shared between each partners. Each individual's sexual experiences are unique, and it is essential to prioritize open communication, consent, and mutual respect within intimate relationships, rather than focusing solely on body count. Now, there's a lot of people out there who don't want a person with high body count, and that's fine. That is definitely their preference. Nobody's mad about that. But for those who do not want to accept anyone with those high body counts, just let that be that. We're not going to bash. That's that person's choice, and whatever consequences they may get from that, that is them. So we're not going to bash them. You and I don't have to deal with any consequences from it. It wasn't our choices. So no need for bashing. Just understanding what it is you like and don't like and move forward without incident. Now, understanding the relationship between body count and sexual behavior requires a comprehensive and nuanced approach. It is important to recognize that sexual behavior is highly individualized and influenced by a myriad of factors. Body count should not be used as a sole measure of individuals' character or sexual satisfaction. Rather, fostering healthy relationships built on communication, consent, and mutual respect should be prioritized. By promoting understanding and acceptance, we can create a more inclusive and open-minded society that respects the individual's choices and preferences regarding sexual behavior. Now, some of the factors that do play a big role in what happens sexually, or the sexual behaviors rather, after possibly traumatic, events, mental disorders. It's a lot of things that can come together and cause a person to just be like rabbits. One is a sexual addiction, and would you be surprised how many people actually have that? Some are coping and dealing with it in a healthy manner, and some are not. Some don't even know they have an addiction. They have not learned that yet. And some, like I said before, it's trauma-based. It flips a switch. Those who've experienced sexual assault, it changes their outlook, their perceptions, their feelings, and everything about sex. So now we're going to get into the impact of sexual assault on sexual behavior and function. And this is to help further understand the body count in some situations. It's not all, but some. Now, sexual violence has far-reaching consequences for survivors. this impacting all aspects of their lives, including sexual behavior and function. The focus of this is to explore the effects of rape on individuals, body count, and subsequent sexual behavior. Additionally, it seeks to shed light on the psychological and physical factors that contribute to changes in sexual behavior and function after those traumatic experiences. Now, we all know what the concept is of, body count. It's the number of sexual partners. Now, in the context of rape survivors, body count can be influenced by a range of factors such as self-esteem, post-traumatic stress disorder, attachment styles, and societal judgment. Assault can significantly alter an individual's perception of their body and sexuality, leading to changes in sexual behavior, including increased or decreased promiscuity, avoidance of sexual relationships altogether, or engaging in risky sexual practices. I'm going to stop right there for a second. A lot of females and males, because it happens to both, after they are assaulted, a lot of them do take on the mindset of, well, somebody took it, so it's no longer special, so, let's go on and just give it away, because if I give it away, maybe nobody else will take it. Or even there's no real thought at all about it, but the action is just the same as I just said. Giving it up, left and right, both draw legs, so to speak. An addiction can be born. Not healthy, but it is what it is. Now, psychological factors. Assault often leads to significant distress. Survivors may experience symptoms of PTSD, depression, anxiety, and shame. These psychological issues can manifest in altered sexual behavior and function. Some survivors may engage in hypersexuality as a coping mechanism or to reclaim control over their bodies. I'll have to admit, I'll start right there. That was my issue as well. Hyperdrive. Switch, flip. Now, conversely, others may experience sexual aversion or fear of intimacy, leading to celibacy or avoiding sexual encounters altogether. The psychological consequences of assault can be profound, shaping an individual's sexual attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors. So, physically, what are the factors? Sexual violence can cause various physical injuries to survivors, including genital trauma, pain during intercourse, and sexually transmitted infections. These physical consequences can directly impact sexual behavior and function. Survivors may experience changes in sexual arousal, difficulties with orgasm, or decreased libido in women as a result of physical trauma and its psychological repercussions. It is essential to provide survivors with appropriate medical care and support to address these physical challenges and facilitate their recovery. Now, a lot of people are kind of afraid to go get help. Some of them do feel shame. Some of them are just so confused about the whole ordeal that they just never really bounce back. And we want people to be able to bounce back and cope. Like, these things never go away. The triggers and everything else, it never goes away. You can only cope. Find a way to cope. So understanding the impact of sexual assault on sexual behavior and function is crucial for supporting survivors and developing effective interventions. Body count can be significantly influenced by the trauma experienced, leading to diverse and intricate responses among survivors. Everyone is different. By recognizing the complex interplay between psychological and physical factors, professionals and support networks can provide survivors with holistic care that addresses both the immediate and long-term consequences of sexual violence. It is vital to create a safe and empathetic environment where survivors can regain control over their bodies and cultivate healthy attitudes toward sexuality. Through continued research and awareness, we can advocate for change and development resources that empower survivors and facilitate their recovery. So we're going a little deeper into this. This is one of those topics that it's heart-touching. It is thought-provoking, because if you've never experienced any of these things, you have no idea the challenges that goes with this, especially for women. The impact of multiple sexual partners on a woman's physical integrity and health. Now, on this, we will explore the potential physical consequences of engaging in multiple sexual partners from a woman's perspective. And it's one of those you want to tread lightly. You don't want to trigger anyone. Somebody's always going to be mad, so we're not really worried about that. But it is evident that such behavior can have a profound effect on a woman's physical integrity and overall health. Now, key findings suggest an increased risk of sexually transmitted infections, reproductive health complications, and psychological distress. So I emphasize the importance of practicing safe and responsible sexual behavior to maintain women's physical well-being. So engaging in sexual activity with multiple partners has become increasingly common in today's society, particularly among college students and even younger. While the topic of sexual behavior has gained widespread social acceptance, it is crucial to understand the potential physical consequences, specifically for women. And I aim to shed light on the negative effects that multiple sexual partners can have on a woman's physical integrity and overall health. Now, nobody wants STDs, diseases. Nobody wants that. But it is one of the risks. Research consistently demonstrates a positive correlation between the number of sexual partners and the risk of acquiring STIs or STDs. Now, a study by Edwards and colleagues back in 2017 found that women with a higher number of sexual partners were more likely to contract STIs such as chlamydia, gonorrhea, and HPV, that's human papillomavirus. These infections not only impact a woman's physical health, but can also have long-term consequences such as infertility and an increased risk of cervical cancer. Reproductive health complications. Multiple sexual partners can also pose significant risk to a woman's reproductive health. Research suggests that engaging in sexual activity with different partners increase the likelihood of unintended pregnancies. Furthermore, frequent exposure to new sexual partners may contribute to a higher rate of induced abortions, which can have both physical and emotional implications for a woman. It is vital to recognize the potential consequences of multiple sexual partners on reproductive health and address the importance of safe sex practices and contraception or abstinence, whichever one is much easier for you. So psychological distress, what are we talking about here, right? It's psychological distress. Engaging in multiple sexual partners can have a profound impact on a woman's psychological well-being. Now, a study done by Lammers in 2018 revealed a significant association between high-risk sexual behaviors, such as having multiple sexual partners, and increased psychological distress. And that's just feelings of guilt, shame, and anxiety. And those can arise from societal stigma or personal moral conflicts related to being on the promiscuous side. Now, the psychological burden resulting from these encounters can negatively affect a woman's overall quality of life. It's going to be harder for her to bond with one person. It's going to be a lot of anxiety and antsy feelings and being in her head and then just everything you hear online, that's going to mess with her as well. But it's not healthy. I know it's going to happen. We're here to get this information out so everyone can have a better understanding about this and maybe see some things in themselves that they can work on and get help with, and hopefully avoid some of those negative consequences. Now, in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, engaging in sexual activity with multiple partners can significantly impact a woman's physical integrity and overall health. The increased risk of acquiring STIs, as well as reproductive health complications and psychological distress, should not be overlooked. It is crucial for individuals, particularly women, to understand the potential consequences and practice safe and responsible sexual behavior. Sexual education, access to contraception, regular STI screening, and open communication about sexual health are essential steps toward promoting physical well-being in the context of multiple sexual partners. Now, let me say this before I go. Those who are judging people, especially very harshly, and bashing them for having a high body count, don't do that to your karma. Keep your karma clean. Because most of the time you have no idea how it started or to even understand it. And if it's not for you, fellas, you don't have to be rude. It's very polite to say no thank you and keep it pushing. Let's not bash women. It's not helping. And I've often heard some YouTubers say that just telling them or showing them is not helping, but that they'd remember it from the harshness. It would get through. That's one or two, maybe. But that actually makes it worse. So let's try to be adults about this and not really do that to one another. If you see it, you don't want it, pass it by. This has been your episode, your first episode or part 1 of the impact of sex, physical integrity, and health. Stay tuned for part 2 when we dive into the impact of sex on the physical integrity and health for men. I hope that you have gotten this helpful information, and it will help someone. You have been listening to Toni On One Podcast, brought to you by Toni On One Radio, the talk show podcast station. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my talk show. I wish you the best, and don't allow anyone to fuck up your vibes. I've been your host, Toni Williams. Toni On One radio station listeners are awesome. Because of this, your voice is very important. Listeners are encouraged and welcome to call in live during a show or leave a message with your thoughts and opinions, whether it's the Sound Meditation Podcast, the Toni On One Podcast, the Sister Talk Podcast with Sister Such and Such, the Underground Podcast about music, or Inspire Our Podcast. We're trying to inspire the world. That's Toni On One Radio. So listeners' voice is very important. So give us a call at 318-315-3586. Again, 318-315-3586. And voice your opinion. Hi guys, this is Toni On One. And I am here to tell you a little bit about my radio station. All shows are by Toni On One Radio, the talk show podcast station. Shows are available anytime for download, play on demand, and they're on most of your podcast sites and or apps. Subscribe and hit the notification bell on YouTube. The name over there is Toni On One, as well as like, follow, and share on social media. We're on one. So tune in for raw, uncut talk.